Welcome everybody. I'm so pleased you're joining me for this series of tutorials. My name is Kalani. I'm a board certified music therapist and mindfulness practitioner, author of Music Mindfulness, the Evolve podcast, and I'm so pleased to be working with We Play Well Together to give you some information that's going to help you get more enjoyment, more utility, more freedom, and more musicality out of your Zenko drum. So thanks for joining me. Now, many of you may be familiar with the Zenko, and you know it's a hand pan or tank drum, hand pan layout. You can play with your hands or you can play with mallets like I was just doing. What you may not know is that you can actually play chords on it, and you can play along with songs that you know and songs that you love. And I'll be showing you some examples very soon of how I'm playing without knowing anything about music theory and without having to read music notation. So I'm very excited to introduce the ZenChord system with you. I developed this system for the Zenko specifically. It works very much in the same way as chord diagrams. And you've probably seen diagrams like this for ukulele or guitar. I've also developed some for Native American flute, but this one is specifically for the Zenko. And so let me jump right in and let's learn how to read the ZenChord diagrams. Before we do that, and before we get to the actual chord diagrams, let's go and review the Zenko layout, because I want you to understand how we arrived at these diagrams. The Zenko consists of 9 notes. All of the notes are represented on the C diatonic scale, which means they correspond to the white notes on the piano. The lowest note is A in the middle, and that repeats here. All of the other notes, B, C, D, E, F, and G, are laid out on here. And you can see right away that there's 8 notes on the outside, and it's easy to picture them as a X or a cross this way, and then also as an X this way. You can think of them also in quadrants. Of course, they overlap that way. You can think of them as sets of 3, like these 3 and these 3 and these 3 and these 3, or pairs, opposite. Any way that works for you. You can see that there's 8 notes on the outside and 1 in the center. And the reason I'm pointing that out is we're going to use this as part of our system for identifying quickly where all the notes are. So here's an overlay of the actual note names on your Zenko drum. You don't have to understand music theory. You can read the notes and you can see that there's A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And you can see where the notes are on the top. What I've done is identified the sets of notes. You can call it a cluster or a collection. We're just going to call them diagrams. For example, if I want to play the C major chord, and again, you don't have to understand music theory, but if I want to play the C major chord, I need these notes. And I've identified those notes in the C major chord with white dots, of course. The star is indicating the C note or the root, what we call the tonic of the chord or the bottom of the chord. The tonic or the root of a chord is the same as the chord name. So if it's a C chord, then that note is a C. Here's a D chord, D minor, which is our second chord in the series. We're going to be in C major right now. So the C chord, we're just going to call the first chord or number 1 chord. Here's the second chord, D minor. And you can see those notes, and also the D is marked with a star. Let's look at the rest of them. Here's E minor. That's our third chord. Here's F major. That's our 4th chord. G major is our 5th chord, and A minor is our 6th chord. Now, if you've been paying close attention, you might be wondering, why isn't there a B, a 7 chord? Well, there is, however, that chord is not used that much. That's called a diminished chord. and we don't need it to play a lot of songs. So I'm leaving it out for right now, but later on, I'll be happy to show you how to access that chord as well. But trust me, you won't need it that much. We have plenty to work with here. So now you know where the chords are, where the notes are, and where the chords are that make up the different chords in the C major diatonic scale. And we can use these chords to play all sorts of popular songs. In fact, thousands of songs we can play with these chords. So now let's move on and look at the chord diagrams. This is a diagram for the C major chord, or the number 1 chord. Now I haven't put C on it, I put a number 1 because that's all you need to know. This is our number 1. You can see that there's 4 notes that you can play in the number 1 chord, or C major chord. Those are marked with dark circles, right? Black circles. Now I'm going to play you an example of a music sequence that I wrote, and it uses 1, 4, 1, 5 as the chord sequence. So all I did is to print these out, and I laid them out in front of me, 1, 4, 1, 5 in sequence, and I can quickly see which notes on the Zenko are going to match and work perfectly with which chords. And all I need to do is listen for the chord changes, which are pretty clearly marked and obvious. But I'll give you an example of how I play along with that music track right here. All right, super simple, right? Print out your ZenChord diagrams, put them out in front of you in the sequence that is labeled in the music track that you get. And by the way, you get all the music tracks as you're hearing in this video tutorial. You guys get those for free, and you can play along with those, and we'll be creating more in the weeks and months to come. So check back, make sure you get all the tracks you can in different styles. Here's another one. And this one is a little bit different feeling. And this is more of an A minor sound. Again, I don't have to know anything about music theory. All I need to know is that this track is in the sequence 6, 6, 3, 4. The reason it has 2 6s is we do the 6 chord diagram twice as long. So it's 2 sets of 6, and then a set of 3 and a set of 4. So listen to that, and I'll be right back. So you can see that I'm playing the drum in different ways. Sometimes I'm just playing chords along as a supporting texture. Sometimes I'm coming out front, playing a little more soloing. Sometimes I'm playing very little. Sometimes I'm playing those root notes just to fit in and slide underneath there and let the music come to the foreground. There's all sorts of different ways that you can make music. Here's another example, and this sequence is 1, 3, 5, 4. The exciting news is that once you understand how to use the ZenChord diagrams, you can play with other instruments like ukuleles, guitars, tinkatongs, percussion, Native American flutes or ocarinas or any other instrument. All you have to do is know that the Zenko is primarily playing in the key of C major with regard to the ZenChord diagrams. And then you just use the numbers to relate that information to people that are playing chords. For example, in the key of C, if I said to an ukulele player, well, let's play 1, 4, 5 as a sequence, they're going to understand the 1 chord and the 4 chord and the 5 chord. They're going to play C, F, and G. So you don't have to understand music theory. You just have to be able to say the numbers of the chords. And we've already done all the heavy lifting music theory-wise for you. So you just need to know the numbers and the sequence, and you can play all sorts of songs with your friends. All right, I think that's really exciting. That wraps up this first lesson using the ZenChord system to make music on your Zenko drum. I hope you're really excited to get started. I'm looking forward to connecting with you. You can do that here. You can reach me directly at kalanimusic.com. or for mindfulness coaching and information, kalanidas.com. Thanks for visiting me here on We Play Well Together. I'll see you in a future tutorial. Enjoy making music with your Zenko.